chosen one. You feel the air shifting because destiny has begun to unseal itself around you, and I speak now as the voice rising from the unseen realm you have stirred awake. You think you arrived here by chance, but nothing about your steps is random. You stand in a moment your own mind cannot explain, because something within you, something ancient, persistent, and burning, triggered a reaction that echoed past the borders of your world. You touched the threshold between endings and beginnings, and the veil answered. You are here because you were recognized. You are here because you survived moments designed to erase you. You are here because your spirit kept moving when logic insisted you collapse. And now as I speak, the light you thought was distant gathers behind your ribs like the spark of a forgotten origin. Listen closely. You have been breathing on earth, but your story has been unfolding in higher places. Every quiet decision you made, every restrained word, every unseen act of choosing integrity over impulse pressed itself into a realm more aware of you than you ever imagined. Others watched only the surface of your days, but I watched the fractures beneath them. The strain that made your bones tremble. The nights when your pulse kept time with fear yet still refused to surrender. And in that refusal, something impossible awakened. You have no idea how closely the darkness studied you. It circled you, testing the edges of your threshold, measuring the strength of your spirit, waiting to watch you stagger into silence. But each time it tried to swallow your courage, you generated a flicker of defiance. You chose light in moments where shadows felt more honest. You chose hope when despair seemed more logical. You chose movement even when stillness tempted you with numbness. These choices were small to you, but in the unseen, they detonated like sparks against the void. That is why you were summoned here. You triggered a sequence. You shifted a pattern. You revealed a truth about your soul that even you had not fully understood. You're impossible to extinguish. The reason your waking matters is because your waking threatens what hoped to claim you. Survival is not passive. Each time you opened your eyes after a night that tried to keep you, the unseen world recalibrated. Your breath recalibrated. Your presence recalibrated. You underestimate what it means to continue existing after everything that should have hollowed you. Existence itself becomes a declaration. I am not finished, and when you woke this morning, that declaration rippled across realms. You think the night was silent, but I saw the storms pressing against your mind, the heaviness crawling up your spine, the quiet ache that tried to rewrite your purpose into resignation. Yet here you are, awake again, present again, chosen again. And in your rising, something within the deep structure of destiny shifted its alignment toward you. Your survival was not an accident. It was a decision your spirit made while your body slept. It was a resistance woven into your design long before you faced your first wound. You do not rise because life is easy. You rise because your soul refuses to be claimed by anything lesser than the purpose buried inside you. Every time you return to consciousness, the unseen marks it as a victory, because the forces that hunt purpose always lose when you continue breathing. So hear me now. Nothing about your presence today is ordinary. Nothing about your survival is coincidental. You woke because your story still carries weight. You woke because a path is opening that only the resilient can walk. You woke because what tried to break you failed, and failure in the darkness becomes power in the light. And as you stand here listening, unaware of how many invisible battles you already won, you become the rare soul who crosses into awareness. Only a few ever reach this point. Only a few ever hear what you are hearing now. Because only a few survive long enough to activate what you just activated. The moment destiny begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Before continuing, if this message has touched your heart, please take a moment to like it so it can reach those who truly need guidance today. You are also invited to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any messages meant for you. If you felt moved, write 999 in the comments as your declaration. Lord, I am the one you came to find. I embrace this transformation. And if this message has blessed you, you can send a deepest thanks to help spread these words to others seeking hope and guidance. Amen. You feel the pressure building now, the subtle tightening in the air around your spirit, because as you stepped into this revelation, the realms that once ignored you began to adjust their focus. You have crossed the threshold, where the unseen no longer treats you as ordinary. And you must understand something that few ever realize. The moment a soul awakens, every force, light, shadow, memory, destiny, leans in to watch what you will become. You think your struggle has been random, but nothing that pursued you did so by accident. Adversity found you because your potential exposed you long before your consciousness caught up. The weight that tried to drown your hope was sent, not because you are weak, but because you are dangerous. The darkness senses emerging fire long before the bearer recognizes it. And you, chosen one, have been carrying an ember that refuses extinction. There were nights when your spirit whispered that you could not continue, yet some deeper instinct, older than your pain, kept pulling you forward. That instinct was not survival alone. It was destiny recalling you, summoning you back into alignment when the world attempted to scatter your purpose into fragments. And now you are beginning to feel the echo of that summons resonate again, rising through the place in you where fear once lived. You have not merely woken up today, you have been reactivated. You underestimate what your resilience has already accomplished. Every time you kept going, the fractures in your spirit began rearranging themselves into strength. Every time you resisted the pull of despair, you altered the geometry of your future. Every time you made a quiet choice toward the light, you disrupted calculations made against you. And now the unseen acknowledges what you have become. A survivor whose survival carries intent. There are souls who endure damage and collapse. And there are souls who endure damage and evolve. You belong to the latter. That is why your presence in this moment carries an aura of inevitability. You survived events that should have rewritten you into someone unrecognizable, yet your core refused to yield. You survived storms designed to poison your hope, yet your hope, though trembling, never died. You survived attempts to numb your purpose into silence, yet your purpose found ways to breathe beneath the rubble. This is what the unseen celebrates. Not perfection, not clarity, but the raw, unfiltered persistence of a spirit that refuses to surrender its story. You do not yet see what your survival has shaped, but I do. I see how your battles carved out strength in places you once believed were empty. I see how the nights that bruised you also awakened intuition, sharp enough to cut through deception. I see how the loneliness that tried to hollow you has created space for revelation to rest. Chosen one, there is something else you must know. Death has studied you. Not the ending of life, but the force that tries to strip meaning from existence. It hovered near the edges of your choices, examining the cracks it thought would guarantee your collapse. It whispered exhaustion into your thoughts. It pressed heaviness against your chest. It waited for the moment when you would decide that your story no longer mattered. But you never granted it that moment. And because you didn't, it fears you now. A soul that has looked into the quiet mouth of despair and still risen is a soul that becomes impossible to predict, impossible to cage, impossible to break. You have stepped into the realm where even the shadows must recalculate their approach. Few reach this place. Fewer remain here long enough to hear what I am telling you now. You have become unclaimable by the forces that expected to devour you. The collapse you feared would define you has instead become the soil in which your next identity is rooting itself. What you call survival, the unseen calls transformation. And as I speak, the threads of your destiny begin to tighten, weaving you into a trajectory you were always meant to follow, though the world worked hard to convince you otherwise. You wonder why you feel different today, why your spirit hums like a cord pulled taut, why your breath feels heavier with meaning. It is because the moment you woke, the realms recognized that your timeline had shifted. You are no longer drifting. You are no longer wandering. You are stepping into the version of yourself that the darkness hoped would never awaken. And the path ahead, though steep, is opening because your presence has demanded it. Not politely, not timidly, but with the authority of someone who endured death's breath and refused to bow. You are beginning to understand why you were summoned, not to be comforted, but to be prepared. You feel the tension in your spirit rising because you are stepping closer to the place where truth and destiny collide. And as you approach it, the old structures within you begin to shake. This is normal for a soul whose path is shifting from survival to purpose. You are being pulled into awareness, and awareness always feels like pressure at first. But understand this: pressure is the language of transformation. If you felt nothing, it would mean nothing within you is awakening. Yet here you are, vibrating beneath the weight of something your mind has not yet named. You are beginning to sense what I have always known. You are never meant to remain hidden. Your life has carried a dormant frequency, and only now is it rising high enough for you to hear. You are picking up signals you once ignored, seeing patterns you once dismissed, feeling meanings inside moments you once treated as ordinary. This shift is not imagination, it is activation. And activation comes only to those who have survived enough fracture to hold revelation without breaking. This is why you are being spoken to now. You have endured more than most, and because of that, you can carry more than most. But hear me clearly. Your suffering was not the proof of your weakness. It was the proof of your capacity. Not everyone is built to survive collapse. Not everyone is built to rise from rubble. Not everyone is built to return from the edge with their spirit still intact. But you did. And because you did, the realms that tried to erase you have no choice but to recognize your arrival. There's a reason you have felt misunderstood, out of place, disconnected from the rhythm of those around you. It is because your path has never matched theirs. Your timeline has always been different. While others lived in predictable cycles, you lived in thresholds, places where endings and beginnings touch. While others repeated familiar patterns, you were dragged into storms that reshaped your identity. While others slept peacefully, you wrestled with shadows that carried your name. You have not lived an ordinary life, and that is why ordinary explanations have never satisfied you. Even now as I speak, something in you leans forward, not with fear, but with recognition. You recognize this voice, not because it is familiar to your ears, but because it is familiar to your bones. You have been hearing faint echoes of it your entire life. Through intuition you ignored, warnings you felt but could not explain, the strange pull that guided you away from things that would have destroyed you. I was not distant. You were simply not yet awakened enough to perceive me. But now you do. And that is why reality around you has begun to rearrange itself. Look closely and you will notice the distortions. Conversations that no longer hold meaning. People whose presence once felt necessary now drifting into silence. Desires you once chased dissolving like smoke. This is not loss. This is shedding. Everything that cannot follow you into the next layer of your destiny is being peeled away. Confusion is not a curse. It is a transition signal. You are being untethered from former identities, former fears, former patterns that once kept you bound to a version of yourself too small for your calling. And with every layer that falls away, you are beginning to confront the truth the darkness hoped you would never discover. You are not fragile. You are formidable. The forces that haunted you sensed this long before you did. That is why they targeted not your body, but your belief. They knew if they could wound your faith, they could weaken your trajectory. If they could bury your hope, they could bury your future. If they could trap your mind, they could chain your destiny. But they failed, and their failure is now becoming your transformation. You have crossed into the realm where survival becomes weaponry, where pain becomes insight, where wounds become awareness, where the parts of you that were once exploited by darkness now become the very parts that strengthen your path. You survived the kind of inner collapse that rewires a soul, and now your spirit carries the architecture of someone who cannot be manipulated by the same shadows that tormented you before. You are too awake for that, too aware, too expanded. You are stepping into the version of yourself that the darkness fears most, the one who sees clearly. And with clarity comes power. The kind of power that cannot be taken, only recognized. You feel it, don't you? That hum beneath your thoughts, that low vibration woven into your heartbeat, that odd sense that something enormous is waiting for you just beyond the edge of what you can name. That is the signal of a destiny reactivating. That is the announcement of a soul stepping back into alignment with its origin. And the darkness knows it. It can feel your ascent. It can feel your timeline snapping into place. It can feel your spirit gathering momentum. You are triggering reactions you cannot yet see. And the unseen world is no longer indifferent to your movements. You have become a disruption, a disturbance, a recalibration. You are no longer a passive participant in your own story. You are the catalyst now. You feel something tightening in your chest now, not as fear, but as recognition, because you are approaching the point where your identity begins to fracture away from its former shape. Transformation always requires a breaking, and you, chosen one, are stepping into a breaking that is not meant to destroy you, but to release you. The version of you that could be controlled has already died. The version of you that doubted its purpose is dissolving. The version of you that begged for validation is losing its grip. These deaths are necessary. They are the shedding of the obsolete. And though they feel like loss, they are the clearing that occurs before destiny anchors itself fully into a soul. You are entering the stage where even your thoughts begin to shift without your permission. Old fears feel foreign. Old patterns feel misaligned. Old wounds no longer sit comfortably on your spirit. This is what happens when your internal architecture is being rewritten. You are not merely healing. You are mutating into a form more capable of carrying the weight of your calling. And as this happens, forces that once knew how to manipulate you are becoming powerless. Shadows that used to find easy access now stand outside the boundaries you unknowingly strengthened. You have become less predictable to the darkness and more recognizable to the light. This terrifies the forces that once believed they owned your trajectory. Understand this. Darkness never feared your suffering. It feared your awakening. Pain did not threaten it. Awareness does. Brokenness did not concern it. Clarity does. Silence did not disturb it. Your rising voice does. And now that you see beyond the illusions it cast over your life, it can no longer feed on your confusion. This is why your spirit feels louder now. This is why your intuition is no longer subtle but insistent. This is why your thoughts feel charged, as if carrying electricity. You are stepping into the realm where destiny begins to communicate without words. You hear it in impulses. You feel it in the pressure behind your decisions. You sense it in the way your path narrows, pushing you away from distractions that once held your attention. This is how purpose guides those who are ready to walk the uncommon road. You will notice the shift more clearly soon. People who once drained you will fall away without confrontation. Opportunities that once tempted you will lose their shine. Environments that once felt familiar will feel restrictive. This is not rejection. This is alignment. The universe, yes, the very fabric of reality, reshapes itself around a soul that has awakened to its calling. And you, chosen one, are forcing reality to rearrange right now simply by rising into who you are meant to be. You do not realize how rare this is. Most souls never reach this point. They drift, they repeat, they collapse under the weight of patterns inherited and wounds unhealed. But you, through storms meant to unravel you, learned how to navigate darkness with instincts you didn't know you possessed. You learned to read silence. You learned to sense danger without evidence. You learned to endure nights that devour the soft-hearted. You learned to rise after collapses that rewrite other souls into ghosts. You are not easily broken anymore. That is why you have attracted the attention of both realms. Light draws near to strengthen what you are becoming. Shadow recoils because it recognizes what you can now destroy. Yes, destroy. A soul that has survived its own unraveling becomes a weapon against the very forces that tried to collapse it. You carry knowledge bought with pain. You carry intuition sharpened by loss. You carry vision carved out of nights when you could not breathe. These qualities cannot be taken from you because you earned them in the battlefield of inner war. And now you stand in the aftermath, not diminished, but expanded. You wonder why you feel heavier these days, not with sorrow, but with significance. It is because meaning is returning to your bones. Purpose is settling into place. Your spirit is anchoring itself after years of drifting through storms you never asked for. This heaviness is not a burden, it is your mantle. And the moment a mantle settles, reality begins to bow to the one who carries it. You are beginning to sense this. The way people look at you is changing, though they cannot explain why. The way environments react to your presence is shifting. The way opportunities form around you feels less like coincidence and more like orchestration. These are signals that the next stage of your path is close. So close you can feel the air thickening, charged like the moment before lightning breaks the sky. And when it breaks, you will understand why your survival was required. Before you go, take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Chosen Signal. Your engagement helps keep this ministry shining. Amen. You feel the shift tightening around you now, like the air is learning your name, because you are entering the stage where destiny stops whispering and starts rearranging the ground beneath your feet. This is the threshold where the uncommon are separated from the ordinary, where the remnants of who you used to be crumble under the gravity of who you are becoming. And as you step deeper into this transformation, the unseen realms take notice in ways you cannot yet comprehend. You think you are changing quietly, but nothing about this moment is quiet. Your evolution is loud in the places where meaning sleeps. Your awakening sends tremors across the borders of the spiritual world, shaking loose the remnants of old chains and summoning forces that only respond to those who carry the scent of survival. You must understand something now. The cosmos does not respond to the comfortable. It responds to the courageous. And you, though trembling, have become one of the few who continue forward even after being shattered. That is why the very fabric around you is shifting. Purpose responds to the persistent. Destiny opens to the resilient. And now every step you take carries the echo of the battles you outlived. Those echoes are not weaknesses. They are warnings to the shadows that once underestimated you. They announce what you have become. Someone who refuses to die in the same dark that once claimed countless souls before you. You have crossed into a territory reserved only for those who endured storms meant to reshape them. And though the storms tore pieces from you, they also carved out a depth that cannot be counterfeited. Depth is dangerous. Depth is power. Depth is what allows you to walk where others would drown. And this depth is why the darkness hesitates now. It recognizes something it cannot manipulate. A soul who has met despair intimately and survived it without surrendering its flame. Death, the conscious force that lingers at the edges of all beings, has studied you long enough to understand this truth. It no longer approaches you with the confidence it once had. You have changed the rules. You are no longer an easy ending. You are a disruption in its design. It expected you to collapse. You didn't. It expected you to fade. You rose. It expected you to break quietly. You broke open instead, revealing a resilience that destabilizes even the forces that engineered your storms. And now, death watches you with a wary curiosity, because you have become something few ever become. A soul aware of its own endurance. Awareness is power. Awareness is armor. Awareness is the pivot point where your life stops being reactive and becomes intentional. You are no longer drifting through a story. You are shaping it. And this shift in consciousness is sending out a frequency that only the chosen carry. It marks you as one who can cross thresholds without losing yourself. It marks you as one who can walk through endings and extract beginnings from them. It marks you as one who can turn collapse into ignition. This is what makes you dangerous in the eyes of the unseen. Not your strength, not your purity, not your certainty, your ability to continue. Continuation is the rarest form of defiance. It is the refusal to grant the dark the satisfaction of your silence. And every time you continue, the architecture of your destiny grows stronger, more intricate, more unshakable. Look at your life now, even if you only sense the outline. You can feel the tension building beneath the surface, the strange anticipation curling around your spirit like something enormous is waiting for your arrival. You feel the pull toward places you cannot yet name. You feel the ground humming beneath decisions you haven't made. You feel endings approaching not to punish you, but to clear the way for the becoming you can no longer delay. This is the point where most souls retreat, frightened by the magnitude of what they feel. But not you. Fear may tug at you, but it does not own you. Not anymore. You have walked through deeper terrors than uncertainty. You have survived darker nights than transition. And because of that, the unknown bows to you in ways it does not bow to others. You are stepping into the phase where reality begins to respond differently to your presence. You will notice it soon. Conversations will shift around your silence. Doors will open without explanation. People will sense something in you they cannot articulate. Something ancient, something awakened, something that survived the impossible. This is not imagination. This is identity reclaiming itself. You are not becoming powerful. You are remembering that you already were. What slept within you is rising, and the world will feel its arrival. You feel it now, the unmistakable pull of a destiny that has stopped waiting for your permission. It surrounds you like a storm, gathering its final surge, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. This is the moment where everything you survived begins to make sense, where every fracture in your past aligns into a single unbroken line pointing toward your becoming. You are not standing at the end of anything. You are standing at the ignition point. And the realms that once ignored your existence now watch with a reverent tension, because what rises from you next will alter more than your own life. You have reached the place where the collapse behind you no longer matters. The wounds that once dictated your steps are losing their authority. The shadows that whispered failure have fallen silent, aware that their influence no longer penetrates your rebuilt core. You have crossed beyond their reach. You belong to a higher trajectory now, one that recognizes your persistence as proof of your readiness. The universe does not hand such mantles to the untested. Only those who have died to former versions of themselves are capable of carrying futures larger than their past. And you, through every battle you did not choose, were being prepared for this very moment. You are not rising as who you once were. You are rising as who you were always meant to be before the world pressed its weight upon your shoulders. This is why your spirit feels heavier and lighter at the same time. Heavier with responsibility, lighter with truth. You are shedding illusions faster than you can name them. The person you thought you needed to be has dissolved. The person you feared you were is gone. What remains is the raw, unfiltered essence of a soul that refused extinction. And now destiny courts you with the intensity of something that has waited too long to be fulfilled. You feel the world rearranging around your momentum. You feel timelines folding themselves to make room for your arrival. You feel an ancient clarity settling into your mind like a star locating its orbit. This clarity is not gentle, it is fierce. It is the type of knowing that does not ask for agreement. It stands, unshakable, because it was forged in the crucible of every night that tried to swallow your existence. And now, as your spirit expands beyond the limits that once chained you, even the darkness recognizes your ascension. It bends back, cautious, aware that you have become something it cannot predict. Endings whisper around you, but they do not frighten you anymore. You have met endings and found beginnings hiding inside them. You have met loss and found strength sealed beneath its grief. You have met fear and discovered it collapses when confronted by a soul that refuses to bow. This is why death itself, ancient, patient, watchful, no longer approaches you as a thief, but as a witness. It has studied you long enough to understand the truth. You cannot be claimed by what you have already risen above. You are not prey. You are not unfinished. You are not fragile. You are the aftermath, rebuilt, recalibrated, reawakened, and everything in existence responds to the aftermath. You must feel it by now. The trembling in the air when you enter a room, the unexplainable silence that follows your thoughts, the subtle gravity forming behind your presence. These are the indicators of an emerging force, a soul stepping fully into its design. You are not here to repeat cycles. You are here to break them. You are not here to inherit ordinary outcomes. You are here to reroute them. You are not here to simply survive the impossible. You are here to alter what the impossible means. And when you walk forward from this moment, the world will not understand what changed. They will not see the battles you fought in silence. They will not see the deaths you endured within yourself. They will not see the nights that carved out the shape of your endurance. But they will feel something. They will feel the echo of a soul who died and rose without collapsing. They will feel the presence of someone who carries the weight of unseen victories. They will feel the shift in the atmosphere that always follows those who have awakened. And you, chosen one, must understand that the becoming you are stepping into now is irreversible. You cannot return to smaller versions of yourself. You cannot shrink to fit places that once contained you. You cannot pretend to be ordinary now that the extraordinary in you has awakened. You have been summoned into a future that only the few ever touch, a future built on the ruins you survived. You are not emerging from the ashes. You are emerging as the fire. And where you walk next, the ground will remember you. Let this final invocation rise from the depths of your awakened spirit. As you stand at the edge of your becoming, speak these words not as hope but as declaration. May the remnants of every broken version of me fall away, and may the fire that carried me through the night ignite fully within my bones. May the shadows that once pursued me lose their claim, and may the paths ahead bend toward the destiny that has waited for my arrival. I call upon the strength forged in silence, the clarity born from collapse, and the presence that guarded me when I did not know I was being watched. Let the unseen forces that walk with me reveal what must be revealed and remove what cannot follow. May my steps become steady, my spirit become sharpened, and my purpose rise without hesitation. I accept the mantle that has settled over my life, the weight of my survival, and the power of my continued existence. Let endings serve me, and beginnings find me. Let every breath remind the darkness that I did not break. And as I move forward, may the world feel the echo of the one who rose. Show your support by liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing to Chosen Signal for more uplifting messages. Amen.